Hello and welcome back to my mental health awareness video series. So I'm recording on a different device, so it's not the greatest, but there's not enough storage on my phone, so this is only a temporary kind of thing where the HD quality isn't so great. Okay, so I've got some cue cards and stuff and my information is on my phone. But then also there is quite a bit of self-disclosure as well because it's something that I can relate to. So, today's video, we're up to number 8, and it is borderline personality disorder. So, I was diagnosed with this from 2012, and I've had a couple of diagnoses since last year. I've been diagnosed with it twice. And it was something that I was very much like, what is it, why was I diagnosed with this personality disorder, what does it mean for me? And I had no idea, and it was something that I decided to do a lot of research into, and I just didn't believe that it really fit me at first. I was in shock. But then it's like, reflecting back on it and such, it's like, well, and still trying to find where it fits with me, I actually realised that yes, it does, and it's not the best of feelings, whereas like getting diagnosed with something that is it's long-term kind of thing, it's not curable with mental health and stuff, but there are treatment options and you can get better, you can function properly with it. It's just one of those things where there's a lot of stigma around it, and I'll get into that. So, first of all, what is it? What is BPD? I know this gets mixed up when people ask me, like, what's your diagnosis? And so I go through my list of diagnoses, and then I come with BPD. And they're like, oh, you're bipolar. I'm like, no, it's borderline personality disorder. There's a difference between being bipolar and having a personality disorder. One is a mood disorder, and the other one is a personality disorder. There's a difference. So, it is a mental health illness, and people affected with borderline personality disorder frequently experience distressing emotional states, difficulty relating to other people, and self-harming behaviours. I will say this quite a few times throughout the video. Not all people who self-harm are diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and not all people with borderline personality disorder do self-harm. So it is something that I will stress over and over and over again. So some stats, which I hate these figures really. So between 2 and 5% of the population are affected by BPD at some stage in their lives, and the symptoms usually appear mid to late teens or early adulthood. And women are 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with BPD than men. 3 times more. Why? It's one of those things where it's like, you're just being unfair there, and I understand like hormones and all that kind of stuff, but we're talking about personality, and it's just, anyways, don't get me started on that tangent there. Gender equality people. So the causes of BPD are not fully understood. There are likely to be a combination of factors such as biological factors, so things that you've grown up with, and situational, so things that are happening around you and stuff. So so your life factors, like whether it's work, whether it's school, it could be anything really. So people have thought that BPD is something that can be brought on from having experienced abuse, trauma, or neglect during childhood, and that such trauma, such stress would have contributed to a person developing borderline personality disorder. Again, everyone is different. It doesn't have to be one specific thing that triggers a person, or that, not exactly triggers, that the development of the disorder, it's not just like put down to one specific thing. But there is hope. So with early diagnosis and effective treatment, the outcomes for people with BPD are good. So they can still live effective lives, they can still reach their goals and their aspirations and all that kind of stuff. It does not mean that those of us who are diagnosed with BPD, like that's it. We're not humans, we're not functionable, we're very much dysfunctional. It's not it at all. We can still function and reach our goals, have our needs met and stuff like that. So, moving on. What are the symptoms? So I've broken this down into 3 categories. I'll get into this in a minute, but people who do suffer from borderline personality disorder have persistent difficulty relating to other people and the world around them, which can be very distressing for the person and for those around them. So, symptoms may include one or more of the following categories. There are so many symptoms, and please don't try and research it and be like, oh well, I've got 6 of these or so therefore I must have this illness. And don't try going through the DSM-5, which is the diagnostic manual of mental health illnesses, which is through for psychiatrist use and stuff like that. The DSM-5, it's like, I may be able to read what it is, but there are times where it's like, no, well, I've got all of these, so therefore I must have this. No, there are comorbidities and stuff, and that's something else that I will talk about, because that's my next point. So it's been broken down into 3 categories. So a person with borderline personality disorder might feel deep feelings of insecurity. You can't really see that properly. Yeah. So difficulty coping with fear of abandonment and loss, continually seeking reassurance for even small things, expressing inappropriate anger towards others whom they consider responsible for how they feel, which is also known as projecting. A fragile sense of self and one's place in the world. So I just want to go back on this, when it comes to anger, they may not always externalize it, they might not be expressing it to someone in particular and stuff like that. For me, I know for myself with BPD and with anger and feeling insecure and such, the anger, I tend to internalize it more. So it's not healthy either way, but I hate people seeing me angry and stuff like that, so I'm more of an externalizer with my anger. And trust me, that does build up, but I prefer to be in my own environments and stuff like that, like being at home and dealing with it that way, than out on a walk and getting out my frustration that way, than having people around me and me lashing out and stuff, because it's not a pretty sight, and I don't like people seeing me angry. So our next category comes to being impulsive. Impulsiveness. I relate so much with this one. So, impulsive behaviours can come down to a number of things, such as shopping, spending money for no reason, it's irrational, you don't actually need it. I know retail therapy is amazing and all, but so excessive shopping and stuff. It could come down to alcohol and drug abuse, inappropriate sexual behaviour, self-harm and suicidal behaviour. Again, I'm going to stress about self-harm as being it's not always a part of someone who is BPD, and at the same time not all BPD people self-harm kind of thing. So it's just they're not always linked. Like I was self-harming for years and years, like for about 11 years or so. And when I was first diagnosed, I asked them like, why, what made you put together that I had borderline personality disorder? And it mainly came from the years of self-harm. So it was an addictive behaviour, and so they put that down as one of the reasons why. Anyways, our next category of symptoms come underneath contradictory and confused feelings. So, frequent questioning or changing of emotions or attitudes towards others, and towards aspects of life such as goals, careers, living arrangements, or sexual orientation. Pretty much self-explanatory. Like I know for me with that, it's like, my goals are pretty much the same. I know what I want to be and how I need to reach those goals and stuff like that. But unfortunately, when things happen, like things are really distressing and stuff, you might have to take time out. You might need to take a different way to be able to reach those goals. So whether for me, being a full-time uni student, I had to cut back to being a part-time uni student. So doing like 1 unit a week, that's my agreement with the university, and that's with my mental health and stuff like that. So it doesn't mean that I won't reach my goals, it just means it might take a bit longer. So emotions and attitudes towards others, yeah, we all do that, but I guess it's like seen more in people with borderline apparently. I am very much an open-minded kind of person, and I don't like to judge people. But we all do. When you first meet someone, you have that like first impression of them, and you instantly judge them. It's like one of those things that it's in our nature. So it's something that we do automatically, anyways. But it doesn't mean that you have to vocalize it or anything like that. You don't need to put it into words or into actions or anything like that. You know how you're about your judgment and stuff towards another person, because it can be quite hurtful. And frequent questioning of changing, frequent questioning and changing of emotions. Like I'm always asking questions and stuff like that, or at times it's just like, it's mainly internalized. Like, what if this was to happen and stuff. Like I'm a major catastrophizer, and I know this, and a lot of people that know me know this. So it's like, worst case scenario, like I should be doing this and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, what would happen if this didn't occur and stuff like that. And it's like, it's just, it gets really, really exhausting. And it's like, Michelle, just stop. So, anyways, my next part is about comorbidity with other mental health illnesses. And I'm pretty sure these are coming up backwards. That wasn't the point of it. On my phone it would come up fine. Anyways, so some people with borderline personality disorder may also experience symptoms of other mental illnesses. So, they may experience symptoms associated with anxiety and mood disorders, such as excessive worrying, catastrophizing, excessive worrying, having panic attacks, obsessive behaviour, hoarding, or having unwanted thoughts, feelings, having unwanted thoughts and feeling persistently sad, moving or talking slower, losing sexual interest, or having difficulty concentrating on simple tasks. They may even experience psychotic symptoms, such as delusions or false beliefs. So believing, for example, that they are being deceived, spied on, or plotted against. But that, your false beliefs, it's not saying that, you're psychotic, you have schizophrenia, you've got psychotic induced, blah blah, whatever you want to call it. And it's just like, that it's not what it is. When it comes to false beliefs, it is the schemas that you have about yourself. It comes down to your core beliefs, which you may have adapted when with your upbringing, People may have told you so many times to the point that you believe it, but these things aren't true about yourself. So for an example, in my life, I have many false beliefs. So things that come up to me the most, especially if I'm feeling depressed and stuff like that, or impulsive, anything like that. It could be that I'm not good enough, I'll never be good enough, because I have a perfectionistic side of me. I'm worthless, no one cares about me, no one wants me around, stuff like that. So these are false beliefs. They're not true of me at all. And it may take time for me to believe that at times when you're feeling in that distress, but they're not real. So it's not something to believe. So I have found some facts about BPD, so what we may or may not know. So it is a complex disorder that is most often understood. As I mentioned, when someone asks me, quite a few times this has happened actually, when people ask me about my illnesses and then I tell them about BPD and they're like, oh, well, you're bipolar. I'm like, no. So, and like other things when it comes to diagnoses and stuff like that, if you're not happy with it, then get a second opinion, ask them, question them on the grounds of why they've diagnosed you with such. Because it is one of those things where you can be misdiagnosed with it. As I mentioned, there is comorbidity of other mental health illnesses and stuff, so just be really, really mindful of it. And if they do say that you've got an illness that you are very skeptic about, don't be afraid to vocalize your opinion about it, because it's about you being safe within yourself, you understanding what's going on, and knowing what kind of support needs to be put in place. So after the fact, I will go into treatment. So another thing is, not all people who harm themselves have BPD. So while self-harm is common among people with borderline personality disorder, not all those who do this behaviour have the disorder. People may self-harm for other reasons, such as low self-esteem, to momentarily express and release emotional pain, or even to punish themselves. This may relate to a mental illness, a disorder, or emotional problem unrelated to having borderline personality disorder. And you can always go back to video number 3, and that's around self-harm within my mental health awareness video series. So I put in a lot more information into that, so I won't go into it. Yeah. So another fact is that people with borderline personality disorder are bad. I hate this. I hate the labels that people put onto us, because the anger and rejection that people with borderline personality disorder display means that sometimes they are labeled as bad, manipulative, or attention-seeking. While things they do may at times lead to confusion, distress, or inconvenience for other people, it should be remembered that this behaviour results from feelings of fear, loneliness, depression, desperation. Sorry, it can be from depression as well, so hopelessness associated with borderline personality disorder. I hate when people are like, oh, why are you doing this to me? Like, you're just seeking attention, or like you're always cancelling at the last moment and stuff like that. It's like, well, I'm not trying to manipulate you. I'm not trying to do anything that's to inconvenience you. And a lot of times I do see myself as an inconvenience. And that's because it's been labelled onto me so much. Or it's just how I just feel in general about it. So if you know someone who's got borderline personality disorder, or like, just in general, like labelling them as being bad, or attention seeking and stuff when they don't actually mean to be, or aren't even aware of their actions, you could actually be validating their schemas of how they feel about themselves and stuff like that, and that's not cool. So please be mindful of what you're saying, because you could actually be validating their feelings, or in a bad way, or leading that person to feel even worse about themselves and stuff. So another last fact here is people with borderline personality disorder can get better. So contrary to common belief, people with borderline can recover well within appropriate ongoing treatments and supports. While there is no cure yet, borderline personality disorder is a treatable disorder. So you can get through it. Even though there's no cure, you can, function and be able to do day-to-day activities and stuff like that, and it's perfectly fine. So the last thing that I want to talk about, because now we're in the 20-minute mark, is treatment. So the most effective treatment comes down to a combination of things, but diagnosis is generally made by a psychiatrist, with ongoing treatment managed by your psychiatrist, a clinical psychologist, or other mental health professionals. So the most effective treatment usually involves a combination of psychological support and therapy, which I've said before. But yeah, so therapies that have been found to be effective for the treatment of people with borderline personality disorder are interpersonal psychotherapy, which is IPT for short, and dialectical